recording. And are you started recording?
Yeah.
All right. So the moment 20-minute timer goes off, the judge starts the debate. The main judge should announce the times. Okay, so now we're going to do the affirmative, which is me, the 1AC speech, not to exceed 4 minutes. I have 4 minutes on my timer. First, I'll read the resolution, which is that the U.S. federal government should ban all tobacco products. And I will start my timer for my speech. So in the resolution, all the terms we define contextually. If you have any questions, I can answer them in cross-examination. And I'm setting the weighing mechanism as net benefits. So if I can prove that my plan will improve the status quo, then I should be voted for. If you can prove that my plan will not improve or will make the status quo worse, then you should be voted for. And going on to observation 2, the background. Tobacco products have long been sold in the U.S. and used to be heavily marketed, and they cause health problems to many Americans every year. The CDC actually tells us that just smoking can lead to disease and disability and harms nearly every organ in the body, and more than 16 million Americans are living with a disease caused by smoking. And that's not all tobacco products, that's just smoking. And with it being this, potentially deadly to people, it's still widely available in many gas stations, liquor stores, grocery stores, or even smoke shops. Moving forward to my observation 3, the plan. The plan would be that Congress would pass a bill that would immediately ban the selling and distributing of any and all tobacco products. That plan would be passed through normal means, and it would be fee-audited through Congress. And this brings me to observation 4, my advantage number 1. This can be titled Healthier Populace. Starting with my uniqueness, many people have illnesses or diseases caused by the use of tobacco products. We already heard about the negative effects that just smoking itself can have. And that number of people using tobacco is increasing every day. We again go to the CDC. It says about 34 million US adults smoke cigarettes, and 58 million non-smokers are exposed to secondhand smoke every day. And about 1,600 young people under age 18 try their first cigarette, and nearly 200 become daily cigarette smokers. So not only are people already using it a lot, but that number will grow with the people who are going to use it. So moving to my link, with the selling and distributing of tobacco products being banned, people would no longer be able to use tobacco products. That moves me to my internal link, where if people aren't using tobacco products, obviously they avoid the negative effects involved with using them, as well as the negative effects involved from people just simply being around others that are doing it, in the case of smoking. And finally, that internal link leads me to my impact, which is that people who currently use tobacco products and young people who would have started using tobacco products would no longer be able to continue or even start that use, which means these people would avoid many illnesses or diseases that are involved with the use of tobacco products. And not only that, but it would stop them spreading those diseases through secondhand smoke in the case of smoking cigarettes to innocent bystanders who don't even use those products. So that concludes my 1AC speech. And next, the negative should now cross-examine the affirmative for 2 minutes. I'll set the timer. And when you cross-examine, you can just ask any questions you have or anything like that. And the timer starts now.
For your uniqueness, what did you highlight?
For the uniqueness, I talked about how many people are sick because of their use of tobacco products. Okay. And how the use of those products are increasing every day.
All right. So in response to that, to your uniqueness, it's many people.
So for the cross-examination, you're not actually responding yet. You're just asking questions. That'll be your next speech that you do.
Oh, okay. I'm asking questions.
Yeah.
All right. Have you questioned that it's people's choice, or I'm still cross-examining right there?
You can ask questions Yeah, even if it's like a probing question, I think you can still ask questions.
Yeah, have you like thought about all the cost deficits? Have you thought like involving police, prisons, that crime would scale, or have you questioned that, it's people's choice eventually and people can choose to not smoke?
Right. So one of the things I was thinking with that is it wouldn't be criminalized for people who use it necessarily. It more you'd go after the sellers and distributors to stop it at the source.
Yes. And for your link, can you repeat your link?
My link for the advantage was that with tobacco products being banned, people would therefore be unable to use them.
All right. So you said people weren't able to use them. Have you questioned, like, with the result of banning tobacco, eventually it'll make tobacco taboo?
Right. And then people would then try to do it illegally.
Yes.
Yes, that probably would happen, but because it's made illegal, that would stop many more people from using it, even though some select few might still use it through illegal means. But it would still stop a lot of people. So that's the end of the cross-examination. So it's now your turn to give your 1NC speech. So to address my topic case and my disadvantage, as well as to go over or to look at the topic case and the advantage, as well as to go over your disadvantage.
Yeah.
And that'll be 5 minutes. And if you're ready, I can start the timer now.
And that'd be my disadvantages, right?
Yeah. So this is where you can argue my topic case and my advantage and go over your disadvantage.
Yeah.
So if you want to just give me a quick roadmap of what you're going to hit first, and then I'll start your timer.
So for my 1NC, I will hit, I'll list a few disadvantages, but there would be very brief disadvantages. And I'll probably, in response to one of yours, all your uniqueness, the link and the internal link, I have a response for that too. So I think that's the path I'm heading.
All right, and I'll start your timer now.
All right, so for my disadvantages, people choose their own addiction. It's been studied that what's being banned right now is flavored, and they're working on it, but it's not completely right to ban all tobacco products because it makes it more taboo. People will sell it illegally for profits, and even young people will be intrigued to look for that stuff, look for tobacco, get their hands on it. And one of my main disadvantages is deficits. The tobacco industry employs hundreds, thousands of employees throughout the country. Jobs would be lost, incomes would fall, tax revenues would plummet. In total today, $5 tax comes out of a pack. So I was researching that 12.3 billion revenue. We make up 12.3 billion revenue from taxing tobacco products just for a box of cigarettes. And those are my deficits. For legal, my third one is legal enforcements. So that would be how I mentioned, would be the extra cost for police and prisons to incarcerate people who do smoke tobacco illegally or sell or distribute tobacco illegally. So that'd be another rise in our criminal justice system to deal with. And for your, in response to your diseases, so it's been studied that scientists are trying to modify tobacco to help not, I know tobacco doesn't have any health benefits, but it's starting to innovate and they're targeting to help with inflammatory diseases and diabetes. And in response to how young people, or it's the problem with health, it's like abuse is key to all these health problems. Smoking in designated areas avoids second contact smoke. It's, you choose where you are. And I think I listed all my disadvantages and responded to some of your claims. So with that being said, I'll pass on ahead of time.
Okay. So so now I get to cross-examine you for 2 minutes. Okay, and I'm gonna ask about the disadvantage. So the disadvantage you had were that it could make it more taboo, it would cause a lot of money loss, and that you're concerned with how it would be enforced. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then and so one of your main questions was like, as far as how it's going to be enforced, like who would get incarcerated and what would the punishments be for using it after it was banned?
Yeah.
Okay. And can you give me the main, go down to your impacts of your disadvantages? Can you just give me the impact of each of your 3 disadvantages?
So the impact to my each advantage is that with the banning of, for my legal enforcement, that would just make the cost for police and prisons rise, because we already have a high cost for that. And it just be like incarcerating hundreds for these petty crimes. And I don't think that's good for just criminal justice system.
Okay, and then for making it taboo, you think it would be of more interest to young people because it wasn't allowed?
Yeah, well, I've read a study that basically anything that's like banned, people tend to want to do it more, look for it more, and with anything, imagine with tobacco.
All right, so that's the end of my cross-examination. Next is, that was the cross-examine the negative. So now the affirmative. So me will give the one AR speech, which shouldn't exceed 3 minutes. Please run. Okay, so for my 3 minutes. So for my roadmap map on this, I'm gonna first touch, because I don't believe you really addressed topic case right. It was more addressing my advantage, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I will first start by addressing how you addressed me on the advantage. We'll start with the advantage, and then I'll go to the disadvantage. And then I'm going to start my time now. Okay, so starting at the advantage, you were talking about how, although it causes sickness, that some health experts are trying to innovate with tobacco to possibly see, and actually know what you're talking about. It's actually not tobacco itself, it's nicotine that they're trying to use. They see that it might help with inflammation, similar to something like marijuana. But in those studies, they're using nicotine on its own, but nicotine is the addictive chemical that is a byproduct of using tobacco products. So actually using the tobacco product, the nicotine isn't what does the harm, it's just what makes it addictive. The tobacco is what causes the health problems and the harm. So I don't think that necessarily tracks with that. And what you talked about with designated smoking areas, those already exist. And the numbers that I've brought up from the CDC are with those already existing. Even if we could theoretically eliminate all secondhand smoke by having designated smoking areas, the smokers themselves are still affected and their health is being very much put at risk. And then moving on to your disadvantages. So I'll start with your first one, which was the legal advantages, legal disadvantage about who you're going to incarcerate, how you're going to enforce it, things like that. So it'd be similar to how it's enforced with hard drugs currently, where the actual users would be given petty crimes, you know, something to deter them from keeping up that behavior, but not something that's going to ruin their life. Where it would really be targeted in the legal system is with the people who are actually attempting to distribute and sell the tobacco products that have been banned. Those are where you see the harsher sentences. So if you can cut it off at the supply, then it wouldn't be able to get down to those who want to use it. For it being more taboo, honestly, that is something I'll have to concede. It could definitely make others more intrigued by it just because it's not allowed, just like alcohol when you're under 21. But I think on a larger scale, even if you do have some people that want to do it because it's not allowed, I think it still stops more people and does more good by it being there. And finally, for the deficit, yeah, you will, big tobacco will lose money, and you might lose money off of taxing it, but the health and welfare of our citizens in the US should be put over the money that we can make off of them using cigarettes and tobacco and becoming sick because of it. So that is my time for my speech. And from there, one NC for 5 minutes, cross-exam for 2, one AR for 3 minutes. And it's now your one NR speech that should be 4 minutes. So you can just address all my points again, any of the points I made right there. Please give me a roadmap first.
Okay, so let me organize myself. So basically, I'll just be responding to all your claims about my disadvantages and trying to state my case.
Okay. All right, so you're gonna go through addressing what I said about the advantage and then the disadvantage?
Yeah.
Okay, and your speech timer of 4 minutes will start now.
All right. How you said it's important, our well-being of our people is important. With that being said, there is statistics of secondhand smokers being affected. But as I said, that could be enforced as well through legal enforcement, where you would legal or criminal justice system would target people smoking in non-designated smoking areas and just give up penalties. That way it would reduce the people that choose not to smoke. So that way you don't have to ban smoking or tobacco in public because you'll have the designated areas and you'll have that enforcement. And I also think it's a person's choice what they put into their body. I know it's for some cases that doesn't go right, but it's unfortunately how I said abuse is key to all health problems. Everything in moderation is key. For how you said, for the legal aspect, I think it would be too much. It would be overwhelming for our criminal justice system because it'll not just target the distributors or people. It'll affect the smokers, and you just have a large population of them facing penalties. And it's been studied that with the tax revenue from tobacco, we get that money and we put it into programs that benefit a larger population of the country. With that being said, that small portion of the population contributes towards better programs or other programs for people. So that's how I refute my case. I think I am done ahead of time as well for this one.
And then since this is your last speech, you should also address why you think you should be voted for.
So I think I should be voted for because eventually a ban to something like tobacco could lead to bigger costs. It could impact our economy because we get money from tobacco to help our economy and help with other programs. And it just be, we just be avoiding overwhelming our prison system and our police system. And with that being said, I think you should vote for me for that reason, because eventually abuse is key to these health problems, and just target that group and isolate them from people that choose not to smoke. And that's the end of my case.
Okay. So that moves us to, that was your 1 NR. So now I have my 2 AR speech, which shouldn't exceed 2 minutes. Let me set the timer. My roadmap, I'm going to be going over the advantage, then disadvantage, and then I'll be giving reasons why I believe I should be voted for. So I'll start my timer now. So starting at the advantage, you said that that we could target, law enforcement would target smokers in non-smoking areas, and that they would be punished. I'd be interested. I don't know what kind of punishment we've done for it, and also I still think that just kind of dodges the issue at hand, which is even if you could eliminate that secondhand smoke that affects others, it still attacks the smoker and causes health problems for them, which is what this would be trying to avoid. And with your point about personal choice, I mean, this precedent has already been set by our laws against hard drugs like crack cocaine or methamphetamines. So although you do have personal choice, if it's against the law, it's against the law, and that precedent has been set. Going on to the disadvantage, you say it'd be overwhelming on our justice system. I don't think it'd be any more overwhelming than the tax on our justice system and enforcement to go after those who distribute methamphetamines, those who distribute cocaine, and hard drugs like that. And finally, you said that the tax revenue we lose from the selling and distributing of tobacco products would take away funding from other places that we put that into. I think that could be replaced with whatever money we get from tickets or drug busts of tobacco products. That money could be replaced by the money that's coming from these busts. And also, I still don't think that money really outweighs the health problems that happen. So for all the reasons I've laid out, I believe that the affirmative should be voted for. And I think it would make it a better place to ban the selling of tobacco products. And that concludes my speech. All right, so that's the end of the debate. So now we'll click the help button. Well, we'll stop recording, click the help button to tell Professor that we're done. So we can stop recording.
So I wouldn't recording right there, right? The recording will be converted to MP4, all right.